Hey y'all, it's Rachel from AddisonJames Knits, and I am so excited to introduce my very first free knitting pattern on the AJK blog. It'll be available at AddisonJamesKnits.com here in just a couple of days, so super excited about it. It is that gorgeously lush, super squishy, super beginner friendly garter stitch triangle cowl that I had on, or scarf that I had on a couple weeks ago in my Instagram, and it's literally my favorite thing. I wear it every day. It's just wrapped up in luxury, pretty much is what you're feeling like. So super squishy. I have blocked it so it is a little more loose and luxurious, but it is a super simple garter stitch, back and forth. You can do it. Perfect 100% beginner knitter pattern. So if you've never knit before, you want to try, you've practiced, all you need to know is literally just casting on the knit stitch and being able to make an increase stitch, which is just knit one front and back, and I will show that to you. It is not scary at all. For this scarf, I used Premier Mega Tweed. Unfortunately, I get this yarn from AC Moore, and they are going out of business. Sad face, but it's just a super bulky size 6, really, really soft, squishy yarn. Honestly, any super bulky size 6 will work for this pattern. And actually, you can even drop down to a 5 if you're a little more advanced knit and you know. Actually, gauge doesn't even matter on this because you can make this scarf as big or as small as you want it to. But today in my video, since we can't get Mega Tweed anymore from AC Moore, I'm using everyone's favorite Lion Brand Hometown USA. And you can get the exact same look, the exact same drape. It feels essentially the same as the Mega Tweed. So that's what I'm gonna work on today, and I will show y'all how to get started on your scarf. So the very first thing you're gonna do is cast on. I'm actually using my absolute favorite Clover Takumi needles. These are the interchangeables, but even if you don't have an interchangeable, that's totally fine. You can use straight needles for this. The only thing is if you do want your scarf to be super drapey and long, you're gonna have a pretty long edge when you get to this side. So you'll either have to bunch up your stitches really tightly on a straight needle, which is totally fine, or you can use circulars. And even though this is not an in the round project, I love using circulars. I don't know, I just love them. But anyway, it kind of gives me more room to hold those stitches. Today, I think I'm using my 16-inch loop. If you've never seen a Clover Takumi interchangeable, they are amazing, like magic. You can literally interchange any size cable with any size needle. So you could throw on, you know, little tiny knitting needles on this size cord. You can swap out the cord for a small one. Like when I do my chunky baby beanies, I'll use these 10s along with a little bitty 9-inch cord. But anyway, today just grab your favorite set of 10 millimeter US 15 knitting needles. And like I said, they can be circulars or straights. It's totally up to you. You don't have to worry about doing a super long tail cast on because we are casting on one stitch. That's right, one stitch. I told you it was super beginner. So I like to do the long tail cast on like this. You're gonna cast on. I'm not really a knitting teacher, but I will go slowly. If you are a beginner knitter, definitely just YouTube long tail cast on if you'd like. But once you get that first stitch on, it'll look like you have 2 stitches, right? It's really just one stitch. You always want to ignore, if you're doing the long tail cast on, that second one is going to go away. So we've only cast on 1. So what we're going to do is go in, and I want to show you how to do the knit one front and back. It is a magic stitch. So you're going to go in as if to knit, and we're going to knit a stitch, but don't pull it off your needle. See how I just kind of stretched it out there? Don't pull it off the needle. Go back in to that back stitch as if to knit again, and knit the back stitch. And look at that, you have magically made 2 stitches. Oh my gosh, we'll do it again, so don't worry. Again, there's other people who are way better instructors than me. Just YouTube knit one front and back, or K1FB or KFB sometimes. Anyway, remember that second one is gonna go away. Usually I just knit, that last one I knit it together with my last stitch, but since we created 2 stitches, you can literally magically do this. And now you have 2 actual stitches on your needle. So you're gonna turn your work again. Remember, we're just going back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Even though I'm on circulars, we're just knitting back, forth, back, forth. So after you increase, we're gonna knit 3 rows of just straight knitting. Super easy. So all it is knit 1 front and back, and then knit 3 rows. Knit 1 front and back row, and then knit all the way across, and then knit 3 rows. And that will actually create, let me get it for you, a right angle triangle. So we are starting here in our knitting, and we're working our way this way. We're only gonna increase on this side of the scarf. This side of the scarf will always have, it will always end and begin on the same number of stitches. So when you get to this end here, you can end here. I like to add a few more little short rows up here just to extend it, because this side will be quite a bit shorter than this side. It's not a perfect equilateral triangle or whatever it is, isosceles. I don't know. I do math for work, but I don't like to do it at home. Haha. Anyway, I'll show you that up here. It's not scary at all. I know people hear short row and they get like itchy and panicky when you're a beginner. I'm gonna show you, it is so easy. There's no wrap and turns, anything like that. We're just adding a couple of rows up here, just because I like to make that edge a little bit longer. But anyway, so we're starting here. When we cast on that 1 stitch, we're on this side. And so you're only gonna increase on this row, and you literally are just gonna knit, and it's gonna grow. It's pretty freaking amazing. All right, so here's our cast on tail. Here's our 2 stitches. So we're just gonna knit for 3 rows, just knit those 2 stitches. 1, I have lotion on my hands. I don't know why I put lotion on my hands. That was dumb. All right, and at first it'll be a little fiddly if you're using circulars, because you know, it's flapping around and stuff. Don't worry, this scarf grows so fast because of the bulky size 6 yarn. It's amazing. All right, so this is our 3rd row. Technically, it's our 2nd row of just knitting. 1, 2, and then we want to do, and I kind of tug a little bit just while you're making this end. Remember, we're making that long end of the scarf. This is our last row of just knitting. 1, 2, turn again. Now we're going to do that knit 1 front and back again. So go in as if to knit. Knit your stitch, but don't let it off this needle. Keep it on there. Give yourself a little slack. Now go into that back loop as if to knit. Knit that stitch as well. One magic. 2 stitches. Now when I get onto this one, I like to throw a little stitch marker. I don't put it on the needle like how normal. I just want to train my brain, or tell my brain whenever I'm dropping this and picking it back up, or you know, screaming at my kids or the dogs. I like to remind myself which side of my work is the increase side, because until you really get pretty far into the scarf, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell which is your increase side. So I use a lobster clasp. Look how cute. Isn't that adorable, y'all? I got it from Aquarius Makes. She is freaking fantastic. But anyway, I just lobster clasp one onto there, and it'll stay on there. You can move it down once it gets bigger, but I just leave it on there. It just tells me which side is my increase side. So now I'm knitting 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was our increase row. So now we're gonna do 3 rows of just knit. Remember, it's increase row and then 3 rows of just knit. Increase row and then 3 rows of just knit. So 1, 2, 3. You can hear my dogs walking around. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't have a fancy studio booth set up or anything yet. Maybe it'll come. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 more row. Oh, I know, I'm super professional, excuse me. 1 more row of just knitting. 1, 2, 3. And then just double check your work. When you turn, you're ready for your increase row, right? And yep, our stitch marker is on this side. You always want to keep your increase row on the same side. So that'll remind me if you ever have to put it down and go pick up a kid from school or go to work and then come back, sad face, you always know you're ready for your increase row, right? Just a little, it's not really a trick of the trade for me, it's just, I'm always operating on like half brain power. So we're gonna do an increase, right? Knit 1 front and back. So go in as if to knit. Knit 1, don't pull it off the needle, leave it. Go in the back, knit the back, loop. 2 loops out of 1. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then turn, and now we're gonna do 3 rows of just knitting, but now you have 4 stitches, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're just gonna keep going. Literally, that's the pattern. That's why I wanted to make a video of this, is I know there's a million of these out there. Everybody has their own version of this, and quite possibly there's a good chance that they're essentially the same as far as stitch counts goes, because you start with 1 stitch. So it's not really like a secret pattern or anything like that. I really wanted to make this my very first knitting pattern tutorial video because even though I've been crocheting for over a decade, I only started knitting about 2 years ago. And I caught on fast and I absolutely love it, but everybody had to start somewhere. And so my favorite thing was to make these super, super basic triangle scarves. And if this is, $4 yarn. So it's not like, it'll take, I forgot to tell you in the pattern I'll say this, but it'll take about 2 of these. It really just depends on how big you want your scarf to be. If you want it to be the size that mine is in the pictures, then I used 2 skeins of the Mega Tweed. It says it's 74 yards, 68 meters. I don't even think I used, well, you won't use all of the second one because you will use that for your fringe, and it makes the most luxurious, soft fringe. And then after you're done making it, if you're like, oh, this is kind of stiff, it's a lot smaller than I thought, this will grow like crazy when you block it. So just remember that. I steam blocked this. I didn't wet block it, but you can wet block it and stretch it out even more. But this super bulky will grow like crazy. Anyway, we are now ready for our increase row. I did 3 rows of just straight knitting. There's my little verification we're on the increase row. So we're gonna knit 1 front and back. And then I added a loop or a knit stitch. Knit across, 3, 4, 5, and then 3 rows of knitting. So that is how to see, you can already see how we're growing. This is our straight side, and it'll have that just lovely, I don't know, I love a good garter stitch. And then this side will grow this way. And then our 90-degree angle will be at the very end when you're done. It'll be on that left side of your needle if you're holding it, where the hypotenuse of the triangle is going this way and the straight side is going this way. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and there will be an inexpensive PDF pattern in my shop if you'd like to purchase that with a lot of pictures. But Please hashtag AddisonJames Knits if you try one out by yourself, and follow me on Instagram @AddisonJames Knits. And then of course my blog www.addisonjamesknits will have the pattern for free. It's really short because that's it, but hope you enjoy it, and please, please, please let me know if you try one out for yourself. Thanks so much. I so appreciate y'all being here.